The peaceful farm boy who refused to kill stood alone against 132 enemy soldiers, and what he did next would shock the world. This is the day Alvin York became America's greatest hero, and the story is almost too incredible to believe. From the tranquil hills of Tennessee to the blood-soaked battlefields of Europe, one man's journey would inspire a nation and change the course of history. This is the story of America's greatest hero, a simple farm boy who became a legend. His name was Alvin York, and what he accomplished on a single day in France remains one of the most extraordinary acts of courage ever recorded. But his story isn't just about war and heroism. It's about faith, duty, and the incredible transformation of a man who didn't want to fight. York's path to glory was anything but straightforward. He struggled with his beliefs, wrestled with his conscience, and faced an impossible choice between serving God and serving his country. Yet when the moment came when his brothers in arms needed him most, he rose to meet destiny. This is not just another war story. This is the tale of how an impoverished mountain boy with a rifle and unwavering resolve stood against impossible odds and won. It's about the Battle of the Argonne Forest, where one man turned the tide of battle and captured an entire German battalion almost single-handedly. Let's get into it. Alvin York was born on December 13, 1887, in the remote mountains of Pall Mall, Tennessee. He entered a world of grinding poverty, where survival meant hard work from dawn to dusk. He was the third of 11 children born to William and Mary York. The family struggled constantly to make ends meet on their small hillside farm. Life in the Cumberland Mountains was unforgiving, with no electricity, little education, and endless toil. Young Alvin learned early that nothing came easy. He worked the fields alongside his father, planted crops in rocky soil, and helped care for his younger siblings. Every day was a battle against hunger and hardship. But the mountains also taught him valuable skills. Alvin became an expert hunter, roaming the dense forests with his rifle. Hunting wasn't sport for the York family, it was survival. The meat Alvin brought home often meant the difference between eating and going hungry. He developed extraordinary marksmanship through necessity. Every bullet had to count because ammunition cost money they didn't have. Alvin learned to shoot with deadly precision, taking down turkeys and other game with single shots at remarkable distances. These skills, honed in the Tennessee wilderness, would one day save countless American lives on a battlefield halfway around the world. As Alvin grew into a young man, he took a dark turn. The hardships of mountain life and the loss of his father in 1911 left him adrift and angry. He began spending his nights in the rough towns, scattered through the hills. Alvin became known as a troublemaker, drinking heavily and gambling away what little money he earned. Bar fights were common, and his reputation grew darker. His mother Mary prayed constantly for her wayward son, watching him spiral further from the values she'd tried to instill. Then came a night that changed everything. In 1914, one of Alvin's closest friends was killed in a violent bar fight. The senseless death shook Alvin to his core. He looked at his own life and saw nothing but emptiness and sin. Shortly after, Alvin attended a revival meeting at the Church of Christ in Christian Union. The preacher's words pierced his heart like nothing before. That night, Alvin York experienced a profound spiritual awakening. He gave up drinking, stopped gambling, and dedicated his life to God. The wild mountain boy transformed into a devout Christian who attended church faithfully and studied Scripture daily. He embraced the church's teachings completely, including one that would soon test him terribly. The Church of Christ in Christian Union was pacifist. They believed killing was a sin, even in war. June 5, 1917, the letter arrived at the York family farm like a thunderbolt. Alvin had been drafted into the United States Army. America had entered the Great War, raging across Europe, and the nation needed soldiers. For most young men, a draft notice meant duty and honor. For Alvin York, it meant crisis. His newfound faith explicitly forbade killing. How could he reconcile serving in the military with serving God? Alvin wrote to his draft board requesting exemption as a conscientious objector. His letter explained his religious beliefs and his moral opposition to taking human life. He quoted scripture and poured out his heart about the impossible position he faced. The request was denied. The draft board didn't recognize his church's teachings as grounds for exemption. Alvin would have to serve or face imprisonment for desertion. He spent agonizing weeks wrestling with the decision. He prayed constantly, seeking divine guidance. His church elders counseled him to refuse service, even if it meant jail. His mother supported whatever choice he made, though her heart broke watching him suffer. Finally, torn between two absolute duties, Alvin made his choice. He would report for training, but he carried his Bible with him, and his heart remained heavy with doubt about what lay ahead. The reluctant warrior was born. November 1917. Alvin York arrived at Camp Gordon in Georgia for basic training. He was 29 years old, older than most recruits, and his face showed the weight of his inner struggle. From the first day on the rifle range, his superiors noticed something extraordinary. York's marksmanship was phenomenal, far beyond anything his instructors had seen. He could hit targets at distances that seemed impossible, and he never wasted a shot. But his officers also noticed his reluctance. York performed his duties but seemed distant, troubled. He didn't join in the usual soldier banter about killing Germans. Something was holding him back. Captain Edward Danforth took interest in the troubled mountain man. He invited York to his quarters for a conversation that stretched late into the night. York explained his religious beliefs, his pacifist convictions, and his terrible uncertainty about whether he could actually kill another human being. Danforth listened carefully, then shared his own perspective. He spoke of defending the innocent, of protecting freedom, of the difference between murder and righteous defense. He quoted scripture himself, showing York passages about soldiers and warfare that York had never considered. The conversation didn't resolve York's doubts, but it planted seeds. Major George Buxton joined subsequent discussions, and together these officers helped York see his dilemma from new angles. Slowly, painfully, York began finding his path forward. The discussions continued for weeks. York studied his Bible intensely, searching for answers. He read about David the warrior king, about soldiers who served God faithfully, about the biblical concept of just war. On a weekend furlough, York climbed a mountain near camp to pray and think. He spent hours alone, wrestling with the greatest question of his life. Could he kill to protect others? Was there such a thing as righteous combat? Sitting on that mountainside, watching the sun set over Georgia, Alvin York reached his conclusion. He believed God had called him to this moment for a purpose. If he could save American lives by taking up arms, then that was God's will. He wouldn't be fighting for conquest or glory. He would be defending freedom and protecting his brothers. He would be the shield for those who couldn't defend themselves. In that light, military service wasn't sin, it was sacred duty. York returned to camp a changed man. The reluctance vanished, replaced by quiet determination. He threw himself into training with new purpose. His marksmanship became even more precise. His leadership qualities emerged as he helped other soldiers improve their skills. The transformation was complete. Alvin York was no longer a conflicted pacifist forced into uniform. He was a soldier, ready to do what must be done. May 1918, York and the 82nd Division, nicknamed the All-American Division, boarded ships bound for France. Thousands of young American soldiers crowded the decks, many seeing the ocean for the first time. The journey across the Atlantic took weeks. York spent the time writing letters home and preparing mentally for what awaited. He'd heard stories about the Western Front, about trenches and poison gas and machine guns that could cut down entire companies in minutes. Nothing prepared him for the reality. When they reached France, York witnessed devastation beyond imagination. Entire villages lay in ruins. The landscape was cratered and scorched. Trees stood as blackened skeletons against gray skies. The division moved toward the front lines through mud and rain. York saw his first casualties, soldiers torn apart by artillery before they'd even reached the fighting. He saw men with faces scarred by gas attacks, their lungs permanently damaged. The Tennessee mountains seemed like another lifetime, another world. This was hell on earth, and York was walking straight into its heart. The constant thunder of distant artillery never ceased. The smell of death hung in the air. But York's resolve didn't waver. He'd made his peace with God and with himself. Whatever came next, he was ready. He checked his rifle constantly, kept it clean and ready. The Argonne Forest waited ahead. October 7, 1918. The Meuse-Argonne offensive was already in full fury, the largest American military operation ever launched. Over 1 million American soldiers were pushing against heavily fortified German defensive lines. York's unit, Company G of the 328th Infantry Regiment, received their orders. They would attack German positions near the Decauville Railroad, a strategic target in the dense Argonne Forest. Intelligence reported heavy machine gun emplacements on the heights. That night, soldiers prepared as men have before battle throughout history. Some wrote letters home. Others prayed or tried to sleep. York sharpened his rifle and checked his ammunition. He wrote to his mother, telling her he loved her and trusted in God's plan. The Argonne Forest loomed dark and forbidding. Its dense undergrowth and steep hills made it nightmare terrain for attackers. The Germans had turned it into a fortress, with machine gun nests covering every approach and artillery zeroed on the valleys. York knew tomorrow would test everything he'd become. The peaceful farm boy seemed distant now, almost forgotten. The pacifist who'd struggled with killing felt like someone else entirely. What remained was Sergeant Alvin York, a soldier with extraordinary skills and unshakable faith. Dawn would bring the greatest challenge of his life, though he couldn't know it yet. He prayed one more time, then tried to rest. Dawn broke cold and misty on October 8th. York's platoon moved out in the pre-dawn darkness, advancing through the forest in tactical formation. Tension gripped every man. They knew what was coming. Suddenly, hell erupted. German machine guns opened fire from hidden positions on Hill 223. The devastating fire raked the American lines. Men fell screaming. Others dove for cover behind trees and rocks. The platoon was pinned down in a deadly crossfire. Bullets chewed through the forest, clipping branches and kicking up dirt. The German gunners had perfect fields of fire from their elevated positions. It was a killing ground. Sergeant Bernard Early made a quick decision. He took 16 men, including York, on a flanking maneuver. They would circle through the forest and attack the German positions from the side. It was desperate, but staying pinned meant death. The patrol moved carefully through dense undergrowth, trying to stay quiet. They could hear the machine guns still hammering their trapped comrades. Every minute meant more American casualties. Then, they stumbled into a ravine and found themselves face to face with German headquarters. Dozens of enemy soldiers stood there, completely surprised. For one frozen moment, both sides stared at each other in shock. Then the shooting started. The battle that would make history had begun, and nothing would ever be the same. The German headquarters guards opened fire instantly. Americans fell, bullets tearing through the small patrol. Sergeant Early went down wounded. Corporals Cutting and Savage were killed in the first seconds. Within moments, 6 Americans lay dead, 3 more wounded. Corporal Alvin York suddenly found himself the highest-ranking soldier still standing. Just 8 effective men remained from the original 17. They were surrounded, outgunned, and the German machine guns on the ridge above were turning to fire on them. York made a split-second decision. Retreat meant exposing themselves to murderous fire. Surrender meant captivity or death. The only option was attack, impossible as that seemed. He ordered his men to guard the German prisoners they'd already taken. Then York did something extraordinary. He stepped into the open and began firing his rifle with devastating precision. The Tennessee turkey hunter went to work. Every shot counted, every bullet found its mark. German soldiers fell as York worked his rifle with mechanical efficiency. When a German officer ordered a squad to charge York with bayonets, York switched tactics instantly. He shot them from back to front, just like shooting a line of turkeys. The rear men didn't see their comrades falling ahead, so they kept coming. York dropped all 6 without missing once. The German machine gunners couldn't believe what they were seeing. One man was destroying them. For 20 minutes, York fought like a man possessed. His Enfield rifle grew hot from constant firing. When it ran empty, he switched to his Colt pistol without breaking rhythm. German soldiers kept falling. The machine gun crews tried desperately to target him, but York moved constantly, using terrain and trees for cover. His marksmanship was supernatural. He seemed to know where every enemy soldier was positioned. More Germans charged with bayonets. York cut them down. Machine gunners tried to swing their weapons toward him. York shot them before they could fire. His accuracy at distance was unbelievable, yet witness after witness would later confirm it. Finally, a German major realized the hopelessness of their situation. This one American was systematically destroying his entire battalion. Casualties were mounting by the minute, and the attack showed no signs of stopping. The major called out in English, offering surrender if York would stop shooting. York, nearly out of ammunition himself, agreed immediately. He wasn't interested in killing, he wanted the mission accomplished and his men safe. What happened next shocked everyone. German soldiers emerged from positions all through the forest. They kept coming, more and more of them, hands raised in surrender. York had been fighting an entire battalion almost single-handedly. When the count was finally made, York had killed over 20 enemy soldiers and captured 132 prisoners. 8 Americans guarded them. York and his 7 men began the long march back to American lines, herding 132 German prisoners through the forest. It was surreal, absurd even. The prisoners outnumbered their captors more than 16 to 1. Some German soldiers tried to escape during the march. York stopped them with warning shots that came terrifyingly close. No one tried twice. They'd seen what this mountain man could do with a rifle. As they emerged from the forest, American soldiers stared in disbelief. Officers thought York was lying or exaggerating. 132 prisoners? Captured by 8 men? Impossible. Brigadier General Julian Lindsay examined the haul personally. He looked at York and asked, "Well, York, I hear you have captured the whole German army." York, covered in dirt and exhausted, replied simply, "No, sir, I only got 132. The battlefield was examined. The German dead were counted. Witnesses were interviewed extensively. Every incredible detail checked out. York had done exactly what he claimed, and more. His actions had broken a critical German defensive position. The machine guns that had pinned down an entire American advance were silenced. Casualties that would have been catastrophic were prevented. One man had changed the course of the battle. The military began piecing together what happened, and the story seemed to grow more impossible with every verified fact. Alvin York had become legend. The Great War ended just weeks later, on November 11, 1918. When York returned to America, he discovered he was already famous. Newspapers had published the story of his incredible stand, and the nation was hungry for heroes. New York City threw him a ticker tape parade. Crowds lined the streets, cheering wildly. York, uncomfortable with the attention, waved awkwardly from an open car. This wasn't what he'd fought for. He'd simply done his duty. General John Pershing personally presented York with the Medal of Honor, America's highest military decoration. The French government awarded him the Croix de Guerre with palm. Medals came from countries around the world. Everyone wanted to honor the humble sergeant from Tennessee. Then came the offers. Promoters wanted to make York rich. Movie deals, endorsement contracts, speaking tours that would pay enormous sums. For a man who'd grown up in desperate poverty, the money was tempting. But York refused it all. He didn't want to profit from doing his duty or from the deaths of enemy soldiers. The money felt wrong, like blood money. His faith wouldn't allow it. Instead, York returned to Tennessee. He married his sweetheart, Gracie Williams, the girl he'd loved before the war. Together, they settled on a farm, determined to live quietly and faithfully. But York wasn't done serving his community yet. York used his fame for one purpose, helping the impoverished people of his Tennessee mountain region. He raised money to build a school, believing education was the key to lifting his community from poverty. The Alvin C. York Agricultural Institute opened in Jamestown, Tennessee. It provided quality education to mountain children who otherwise would have none. York poured his energy into the project, speaking and fundraising tirelessly. In 1941, Hollywood finally convinced York to allow a film about his life. He agreed only because the money would support his school. Sergeant York, starring Gary Cooper, became a massive hit. Cooper won the Academy Award for Best Actor. The film's timing was extraordinary. Released as America debated entering another world war, York's story inspired a new generation. His message was clear: sometimes, good people must fight evil, even when it costs them everything. York lived quietly on his Tennessee farm, raising 7 children with Gracie. He avoided the spotlight when possible, preferring simple mountain life to fame. But he never forgot the men who'd fought beside him or those who'd fallen. On September 2, 1964, Alvin York passed away peacefully at home, surrounded by family. His funeral drew dignitaries and common people alike, all paying respects to a genuine American hero. His legacy endures, teaching every generation that extraordinary courage lives in ordinary people.